Hello and welcome to the VCR podcast with me, Mike Trower, your video coach to help you create better video for your business online. Today we are joined by a guest who owns a small business called Zenology Boutique. Toni-Marie Gallagher set up this business a couple of years ago, and now she's a thriving success with tens of thousands of followers on her social media platforms. So this is Toni. Hello and welcome to Le Podcast.
Hi.
So today, this is probably not going to be a normal podcast. I am going to ask you some questions. I am going to interview you a little bit and just see what you do content-wise, video-wise. But I'm also going to play a couple of games with you. Is that fantastic?
Oh, no.
So tell everybody about what you do and how long you've been doing it for.
It's actually 2 years this month now.
Happy
I actually
birthday,
officially
Zenology
launched
Boutique.
it, I suppose. Yeah, Zenology Boutique, which started as kind of just a few crystals, to be fair. Now it's more of an overall spiritual business. So I sell incense, loads of different crystals, not just your tumble, so crystal jewelry, crystal key rings, crystal necklaces, just all sorts. And then things like dream catchers and incense holders, backflow burners, mugs, just all spiritual bits and pieces. I've had loads over the years now, to be fair, but it's grown.
So what got you started in this spiritual business?
Good question. That's a tricky one. When I first discovered crystals myself was at a time where I was quite lost, I suppose, quite going through a lot in my life, and I would probably say that's when my mental health was probably the worst it's been. And I remember Googling for things that could help me feel better. I can't tell you what that search was at the time now. I can't remember what on earth I'd Googled. But that's when I first came across crystals. And I remember coming across one, I think it was a website at the time, might have just been a Facebook group. And that's the first website that I had a little look on. And I literally looked at anxiety, I think. So I got one crystal, I think, which now I'm a crystal business is hilarious that I just got one crystal, but I did. And I wasn't really expecting much. And then that is kind of where I started to get a little bit addicted. And I believe that's what helped me through my little bad patch, let's say. And then a few months after that, this said company started asking for affiliates, like people that would work with them and promote their products. So at the time I was doing another little business and I thought, why not? Because I love them. So I can just kind of advertise their products. So I did that for probably a year or so, but I never really put a lot of work into it. And just before lockdown was approaching, actually, I put more time into it and I had a lot more people asking me, you know, they had no idea what crystals were, how to use them, and they were quite interested. And typically, as that happened, the company then decided that they didn't want any affiliates to work for them anymore. And obviously all those customers that I'd suddenly gained that were really interested were just sort of left, and they were like, well, why can't you sell them? And I'd always thought, I'm not a person who can go and buy wholesale. I'm a single mom. I've got to provide for the kids. And you think of wholesale of needing loads of money to put into a business to start with, don't you? So I'd always dismissed it. And then I just thought, do you know what? Because a few people said it, and I thought, I'm going to have a look at what kind of wholesale there is out there. And it went from there. I just thought, right, I'm going to literally put in the smallest order I can and see if I can sell those. And then moving forward, it'll just be profit, but it's for the next lot of stock. And that's where it started, like literally about 2 years ago to the day now, because it was this month 2 years ago that I was pushed into giving it a go.
Fair play for jumping in and doing it. Yeah, it's difficult to just, especially with the kids and that, just to drop things and just go in. So the content that you create obviously has to be quite it has to be directed to your audience. It's you can't it's quite I presume it's quite a nice music and peaceful, and you know, it's not going to be the same as a speedboat sales video.
No.
So what sort of, how do you make sure that your content or your videos are accurate to your audience? What's the sort of things that you make sure that you do to create that content which relates to them?
Now it's about finding a good balance, because when I first started, all of my content probably was very much aimed at people who were starting their crystal journeys, people who probably didn't know what a crystal was. Obviously, every single crystal has lots of different healing properties. So that's kind of how my content started. If I'd have said this time 2 years ago, that's how my content was based, very much for the beginner, very much simplifying the information. So I didn't want it to be overwhelming, but I wanted it to be something that people could say, oh, I understand why you would use those. So it was quite basic when I first started the business, and my main aim was to show people what crystals were, how you use them, why you would want them. So for a good year or so, that was the basis of my content. It was always aimed at people who maybe had just started using crystals, people who didn't have a clue what they were, almost showing them what it was about and how they could use them, why you want them, because a lot of the people who followed me were they didn't have a clue how to use them, what it was about. So I kind of went on that journey with my customers, I suppose. Whereas now we've got to the stage where a lot of those people have got big crystal collections, and now they're looking at, you know, buying more extravagant pieces, or they've kind of got all the basic crystals. So where do they go from there? People who have got their crystal collection, who have probably been customers with me since I started, to be fair, now they want something more and expand their collection. So I have to balance the two.
Yeah, that's good. Also, you have jumped over to the TikTok bandwagon, even though I remember you saying before that it wasn't really a platform that you were interested in. I mean, you did a stint of lives for every day for how long?
Probably a month or two, I think, in the end. And then it got a bit much doing it every night. Yeah, I'd say probably about 2 months, wasn't it? Something like that. 2-3 months at a push, I suppose. Where most nights I'd go live. But I do think TikTok's come a huge way from, I remember it being popular, would you say, in lockdown. And that's the only reason I downloaded it, actually, was because we were bored and the boys did some silly dances with me, and we never even posted them, actually. I'm very nervous about putting them on a platform like that. I literally didn't know anything about TikTok then. It was just, you saw everyone doing these silly dances and stuff, didn't you? And I was quite naive to think that's all TikTok was, but I don't think it was back then. That was just my opinion. Until I started to see. That's all I saw. So, and I suppose that's all I used it for then. So of course that's all I'm going to see. And then I started to realize just how many businesses are on there. Like now that's all I see, pretty much, is so many businesses, and it's done amazing things for people's businesses. So now I'm glad I did it, but I was very nervous with the whole negativity side, and I kind of could see what it meant to be on TikTok and how you could have a lot of backlash. And obviously something I do does come with quite a judgment for people who don't believe in that kind of thing. And that was something I thought, do I want to deal with that? You know, the negativity and the people telling you you're daft and why do you believe in that stuff? You know, everyone's allowed an opinion, of course.
What's the worst thing that's happened? You know,
someone completely cloned my whole business. That's probably the worst thing that's happened. In Bernard's comment, no, it's not. I mean, some people say you should take that as a compliment. So what is it that imitation's the biggest form of flattery or something like that? So
was it just a coincidence, or did you know them?
No, I did know them. It was all very deliberate. It was someone I tried to help on there. This shows that negativity comes from everywhere. Obviously, I do readings too, which I don't think I've mentioned yet, have I? So I do a lot of the life readings and the guidance readings, and that's where I based my lives at first, was giving free readings to people. So you get a lot of people that are looking for guidance or support or someone to talk to or something like that. So it kind of built naturally that I ended up making it a lot about mental health and supporting each other and a community like that. And it was someone who I helped and got close to like that, who just completely cloned the business.
You've built this community on there. Like, how many thousands of people have you got on there?
10.9 I've just hit.
Yes, that's so good. So you got 10,000 people. like
I know, it's insane.
10,000 people,
Yeah.
not 10 or 100,
No.
10,000 people in your community,
Mhm.
and they're watching what you do. And there's more people out there as well. They're watching what you do. They watch your videos, your daily lives. They love your content. And then one person pipes up and says, "You're all idiots."
Yeah.
10,000 people are not idiots, or they're not
No.
stupid, or not daft. Like, your belief is your belief, and I completely get that. And like, you know, and I have crystals and incense and candles, and I love it.
Now.
Like, and now, I was right skeptic at first.
Mhm.
But I supported you on your journey,
Yep.
and then I thought, well, let's try it.
I
And
think you only tried it at first because you won something free trying to support me, didn't you?
Yeah, probably.
And
yeah,
it was
yeah.
like, oh, this actually is all right. But that's what
Right.
I very much stuck to. I'm not on there to convince anyone. So those comments are easy enough to just go, oh, that's daft. If it gets personal, that's when it hurts. And that's why I've deliberately chosen to make that decision for myself, because I knew before even joining that kind of platform that regardless of how strong I think I am, I'm not. If someone comes for my kids, for instance, or someone came for me on a personal level, that would hurt. And I know I would then go, this isn't worth it. And I could lose everything that I've built. So I protect myself in that aspect.
Okay, so before we go any further and to talk about your video content and how you plan that, I want to play a food game. This food game is Name That Food.
Okay.
Basically, I'm going to say a piece of food, and I want you to say the first piece of food that comes to your mind that's related to the piece of food which I have said.
Okay.
So if I say bread, you could say cheese, because that's in a sandwich. If you say cheese, I could say
pickle.
Oh yeah, you could say that. Yeah, I was like cottage pie because I grated some cheese on top of the potato. But anyway,
okay.
So do we get it? It doesn't. It's just for fun. It doesn't matter if we get to the end of the timer, or if we get to the end of the sound effects, and none of us slipped up, then we're both winners. If one of us slips up and says something which isn't a food, then the other person wins.
What about if we take too long to think? Do we lose then? You're not allowed to hesitate too long, are you?
Yeah, you can't. Yeah, let's do like a 5-second hesitation or 3 seconds hesitation.
No, not 3.
Okay. All right. Okay. Yeah. 0.2 second hesitation.
No way.
So, are you ready to play Name That Food?
I think so.
Cauliflower.
Cheese.
Mashed potato.
Sausages.
Bacon sandwich.
Come on. Breakfast.
Cereal.
Milk.
Yogurt.
Rube.
Cheese string.
Baby bell. This is getting really hard now.
Sugar. Well, sugar wasn't the food.
We came towards the end of the song too, though.
Yeah, I think you won that one. When you're creating video content, before you get your phone and go live, do you plan what you're going to do for that session? I know you were on about doing the readings earlier, so obviously you've got a plan to do the readings. What goes into your planning when you're about to do a live video?
Not a lot, if I'm being totally honest. I plan what the thing will be. So for a while, I did a lot of I was always going live doing my readings. That's all I did. That was the basis. And then the more people were regular, the more that they wanted to just talk to me. And so then I thought, oh, well, I'll have to do some lives that literally had no planning at all. They made me feel the most uncomfortable, I can't lie.
That is a plan in itself.
Well, I guess it's like thinking, right, I'm doing that because that's clearly what they wanted. I wouldn't have thought of that otherwise. So they were kind of, obviously, if I'm doing readings, I can't really reply to people's comments. If they're just wanting to ask me how my day's been, that doesn't fit within the live stream. So in some ways, it was like I was being a bit rude sometimes to people because sometimes they would ask me comments and ask me questions. There'd be things in the comments, and on TikTok, anyone who's streamed on there will know how fast, if you've got a few people in, the comments will go. So you miss a lot of them as well. And I started feeling a little bit rude when it did get to a stage where the same kind of people were coming in. So then I'd try and do some just general chatting, and those lives don't really have a plan or a structure, and they'd make me feel a bit uncomfortable. Like now I do a crystal lucky dip, that machine there, for instance. So I will know I'm doing that kind of live, or I will know that I'm going on to do some readings, or I will know that I'm just going on to chat. And that's kind of as far as it goes, because then you just kind of go with what the comments are, because it's a live. That's the beauty of a live, I suppose. But you just don't know, do you? Because you don't know who's going to come and watch. Sometimes you'll get good viewers, sometimes it's quiet. So I'm always I have a starter plan, but then I kind of just go with it, because you don't know. I could sit and do a live with readings, for instance. It's never really happened, but I could, and no one really comes on. And then what do I do? So you have to go with what comes in, don't you?
Yeah. So I remember seeing on one of your lives, you had like a wooden box with some folded pieces of paper. And for that video, that particular video, you had the phone pointing down at the paper, some background music, and that was like your scene. Yeah. So did you subconsciously create that scene, or did you think, right, I need to have a good background track, I need to have the right angle on my phone, I need to be on a sturdy tripod? Obviously all of that is still planning.
Yeah, those ones I do plan more, because you've got to think, can they see? So obviously I would have a little test first of, that was when it was like a little lucky dip thing, wasn't it? Where it was get them some guidance. So I would still be mindful that if I opened the little bits of paper, was it the right way? Could they read it? And it didn't matter as much about background then, because it was just at the box. And the music was intentional, because I think it makes it like a calming, spiritual kind of, if it's me talking, I try not to really put background music, purely because I don't want it to be too much to overshadow what I'm saying. It's not as bad when it's, looking at a little card or something like that. But when you are doing a full reading, you don't want it to be too much. My videos used to be, when I started, just the cards, I think, on the table, spreading them out, pulling them out like that. Whereas now I will have the camera on me so they see me, because it's me that they're connecting with. So you have to be mindful of that, I suppose. Whereas at first I didn't want to show me.
Well, that brings us nicely onto the last thing that I want to talk to you about. But before that, I have one more game.
Oh, no. Okay.
It's called Guess the Noise.
Oh, no. Okay.
So you've got to guess what this noise is. And then we're going to come back and talk about confidence on camera. Okay. So what is this noise?
Oh God, an electric toothbrush?
Yes!
Was it?
Yeah, there we go. Right.
Is that it? Just one?
That's it, yeah.
I quite like that.
I should have done another one. All right, let's see if there's another one. Okay, right.
What if I'm not good? And my electric toothbrush one was good.
Okay, right. Think
You can
about
keep that one in.
What this one is.
Okay. A helicopter?
Yes! Ding, 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 ding. Do you like
this game? Yeah, I do.
Okay, let's have another one. Okay, what's this one?
Keys.
Yeah. All right, that's easy, really easy. Okay, right, that's it. Okay, let's talk about your confidence on camera. Obviously, having keys jingling and propellers helps to generate confidence. So, what did you do to yourself to be able to have the confidence to be on camera in front of 10,000 people?
Being totally honest, not think. So, when I first grew on TikTok, you will remember I had to get to 1,000 followers to be able to go live. And I worked really hard to grow that for about a week. And that helped the excitement, I suppose, thinking when I finally hit it, it was all a bit of a buzz, and it was like, oh my God, I can finally go live, and now I can show people what I can do, so on and so forth. If I had stopped to think about it before I went live, I know I would have talked myself out of it. I would have thought, I don't think I even thought about what I looked like. I got so excited with I can go live that I literally just found the button and pressed it. If I'd have planned it, I wouldn't have done it. I'd have talked myself out of it. I'd have thought of how many people I could reach. I'd have thought, oh no, I don't look good. I haven't put my makeup on. I'd have thought of everything possible. So the best thing I did to do that very first live on what I knew was such a huge platform was not think about it. I literally just got very excited with the buzz, pressed the button, went live. I didn't even hesitate. And I didn't really have a proper plan either, but I knew I was excited and I needed to just go with it. And if I didn't, I might not have even gone live the next day. I don't think. I probably would have overthought it and thought, actually, look how many people there is. I'd have probably sat there looking at everyone else's lives thinking, well, I can't do it like that and I can't match that. And I wouldn't have done it. So that was the biggest thing. That's all I can say is I just didn't think. I just pressed it and did it. Because then there's no fear anymore.
How do you make sure that you don't give your audience too much to talk about, to think about? Because obviously each crystal has got multiple
properties.
Yeah. And there's multiple crystals. So I still can't remember some of the ones that I've bought, even though I've asked you lots of times what they are and what they're for. How do you avoid overwhelming your audience with all of this knowledge?
I try not to do lives or videos actually where I'm just spamming them with too much. And again, I think the biggest advice would be go with what they ask you. So if I have questions from them, then obviously I will answer them, but I do still try and keep it pretty simple. And then I will say, if you want to read into it more, you can find it here on my website, instead of going in with all of it, because every crystal has kind of the top ones. So I stick to that, the top things that they do for you. But there are also lots of other hidden ones. So I will probably say to them, this would be your best crystal for that. If they came to me and said, oh, Toni, I need help with sleep, what would you recommend? I'm going to say just the names of the crystals. And then if they're like, well, what else does that help with? I'd probably then say, well, message me afterwards, or you can find it on my website. And I made the website quite easy so they could just type in what they were looking for on the search bar. So I always refer back to that, kind of giving them a call to action of you can look at that more in depth in your own time, rather than me verbally being sick all over you now. And obviously there's a lot of people watching that might not want to hear that either. So you got to be mindful of the other viewers. This might be one person who wants to know about that crystal. Everyone else has no interest, and you could lose all of them then if you start talking for half an hour about one crystal. So I try and keep it basic and then tell them to find out more. You can either contact me or you can go to this place on the website. So I try not to spam them, I suppose. It's the easiest way, and keep natural about it. So try and make it quite chatty on my lives, because that's what people want, don't they? They don't want information overload. They don't want too serious. Would that be the right word? You know what I mean? You have to keep it more upbeat, don't you? And when there's a lot of people watching, you need to keep moving rather than just sat on the one person. So I try and spread myself evenly between what all the comments are saying, because some of the comments, you just don't know what you're going to get asked in a live stream. You never know who's going to come in, what questions they have. Sometimes I have people in there that are very experienced themselves in spirituality, and then you will have the total opposite end of someone who's like, what are crystals? So you've got to make sure you keep it short and snappy for the both, and not spend too much time on giving an answer to one person. So yeah, I think I tried and keep it simple, but always let them know that there is more information to be found if you're still not sure or you're still confused.
Makes sense. Love it. Right, okay.
Thanks.
Thank you very much, Toni, for joining us. And please let people know how to get in touch with you.
TikTok is at Toni_Zen. Instagram is just Zenology Boutique. And then there's my website, which is www.zenologyboutique.co.uk. Tricky one to spell, though, isn't it?
Well, if they do
know how to
something
spell
similar, I'll put it in the
I
description.
do come up on Google, so you'll find me.
I'll put it in the description of the podcast and vlog. So if you have enjoyed this podcast, then please consider subscribing. You can watch the video version over on YouTube, where you can subscribe there too. So thank you very much, and we will see you, or I will see you on the next one. Goodbye.
Bye.